Ken here regarding Simplified. Today we're going to do an update and talk a little bit more about electroculture. So let's get into it. Now, one thing I want people to know when they're doing the experiments or testing electroculture to see how well it does for you, you want to not over emphasize that it's the electroculture that's doing something. Not to say that it isn't, but don't write in more than what it is. Now, this row of cucumbers, to some, well, it looks like pretty good cucumbers, but the situation with the cucumbers, how they're growing, temperatures, how long the days are, stuff like that, are factors in there too. Now, these are excellent looking cucumbers, considering that since these have been put in, we've been hitting 100 or up to 105 degree temperatures. Very little clouds and no rain. But I've been coming out here in the morning, and that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm overhead watering these. That's why some of them kind of fell over and their leaves look real wet. It's not because of dew. They are actually pretty dry in the morning, but I do it in the early morning. That way it gets some water in the leaves, gets them a good start to the day. And by the time the sun, and it's on its way up, but by the time the sun gets over here to them, they're going to be ready and prepared for what the day has for them. Now, I'm going to go ahead and water while I talk. But these were put in July 17th. So it's been about 3 weeks since we did these. And it's just these two rows here in our Victory Garden bed. This was a new bed this year. Let's see if our hose wants to go down without unkinking or without kinking. There we go. And what I do in the morning, usually, now occasionally in the evenings, I'll only water one row, one direction. But in the mornings, I water them, and then I come back. If I don't water them, it doesn't take long for this ground to get hydrophobic. And now we have a 10% chance of rain today. And a 10% chance of rain, unless they start doing a lot of chemtrail, and looks like they've been doing a little bit, ends up with 0. And I don't know, it might be better with 0 than all the chemicals that's been spraying into the atmosphere. But we're going to water these. Certain varieties seem to do better in this heat. And like I say, it's been warm. Today we're going to have a little cooler than yesterday. It's only going to be 104. And I think the feel-like temperature from humidity, different things like that, affects the plants the same way it affects us. I used to say it didn't. But after this cold spell this last winter, and it had a lot of wind, that wind chill was really rough on all those plants. And while we're talking about this, let's talk about when you turn your hose or you leave your hose in the garden. I leave it running just a little bit, and then I take and turn it off, because when you leave it turned off and you turn off your valve in the summer heat, and especially where we're at, you can build a whole lot of pressure and go through a lot of hoses. So let's go look at some more of the electroculture. We're over here in our squash, and I should have zoomed out so it doesn't move as much. Now our squash is toast. We've pulled out some that was from watering, but we have this atmospheric antenna here, and it really seemed to affect that the squash did good. But it could be just that when I plant squash, it's been doing a lot better because I've been using a lot of phosphate or phosphorus. And now this is just, it's all toast. It's been dropping daily, been more and more. We got the wheelbarrow out here because we're fixing to pull some more of these up, and we pull them up because over in this area we have a lot of root knot nematodes. So we don't know if it affected this plant or that plant, but that can cause a lot of this too. But the heat is really what's doing it. They survive pretty well for the first part, but you know, for 4 or 5 days with 103 to 105 degree temperature, it's just you know, we're watering them with this drip every day, but it's just not holding up. But like I said, they did real well. The production was really good off them. But this variety is prolific, which that should say the production should be good. And we've always had pretty good production. So I'm not going to say yay or nay, because especially with atmospheric antennas, it takes them a little bit longer for you to see results. Some people will say, oh, it's just right off. But like I say, it's just, plants grow different. We've had a lot of solar activity this year, so it's going to affect the growth. So let's not write more into it. Let's just keep with the process and see what happens. Now we're going to go down here to this other bed. Now this bed down here is it has an atmospheric antenna in there. Now it's the seed germination is, I hadn't seen anything that was fantastically higher than any of the others. It is germinating. Some of the plants are doing good, but you know, running the drip just about every day and overhead watering morning and evening, and I still have patches like right in here where I haven't germinated the seed one. Now for not, and it could be something that got the seed. It's hard to say. But some of them, like this one here, it was really late germinating. So there could be a little bit deeper planted in the soil, or something could have got the seed. We don't know. But I got one right there that it's just starting to pop his little head out. So I'm going to say, for whatever reason, we've just got slow germination on it. Now we're going to go into this atmospheric antenna here. We did this simple one on the part 2 of the electroculture, and I talked about there was no scientific information as far as papers where somebody had actually tested the theory to whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise on wrapping your pole for your atmospheric antenna. But this one has been, I wrapped it counterclockwise. And I was talking about, they recommend, a lot of them that recommend, and there's some hardcores that say if you're in the northern hemisphere, wrap them clockwise. If you're in the southern hemisphere, wrap them counterclockwise. But I had seen a YouTuber that had taken and wrapped hers. She had one clockwise, one counterclockwise, and of course it was just testing on little plants. It wasn't a long-term test, but the plants seemed to do better, even though she was in the southern hemisphere, when it was wrapped clockwise. And some of the ones that's been into this for over a decade, they don't have any recommendations for the direction of your coil. So it could affect it, and that maybe that's why they're not seeming to really jump out. But it could be a lot of things. When my cucumbers came up, I talked about how fast they germinated. Well, you know, there's a lot of things that can affect germination, which is moon cycle is one. You know, how hot your days are, because a lot of seeds, if it's too hot they're right at the start, they might not germinate. You know, their seeds aren't, they're not dummies. They've got certain things in them that the brain per se, the intelligence of the seed that tells it when to germinate. Otherwise, seeds would germinate in the middle of winter, and then the freeze would kill them and go like that. You do have some conditions that it causes seeds to germinate to where they end up trying to grow through the colder months. But like I say, these are factors that can play in here, and you don't want to say that it was electroculture that did that. It looks like it. The plants look good because they do have that magnetic antenna in the ground. And if you go back to Electroculture 1, we show that, how to install that. Now we're going to and we're going to shut this off for the moment, and we're going to go to our other Electroculture bed. Now we're down here at the other Electroculture beds, and it's later in the day. It's already about 105 in the greenhouse. Getting pretty warm out here. And this was all watered this morning. I had a little problem with I thought I hit record and didn't, and so I had to come back out here and finish this up. But these were all watered this morning, and you can see that now there are some dark spots here, but that's only because that's where fertilizer was put when we planted these and stirred in. It's already dried on the top, and I don't know how far down. And that's why it's important that we water these morning and evening, and that could have something to do with the germination. If we'd get a rain where the ground would get saturated, then they'd get more even moisture, and the seeds would probably germinate quicker. I'm thinking that's probably part of what got the cucumber seeds to germinate so quick, because back when we first planted them, we just had a rain and then keeping them watered. But anyway, this bed has a magnetic antenna. This one doesn't, and then these next three do. So we're going to use this as an example. Now, we can't say that we'd notice any different because we don't have a control group. Now, I do have another group of watermelons planted, which are in my greenhouse, but these were actually planted in sales trays and then put out, so they quite a bit earlier. But you can't say this is a control group because this is in the greenhouse that has a 40% shade cloth, so it keeps the heat off it. And I have an overhead water system that I turn on so it waters like it would be getting rain. They are doing good, but the main thing I would say, if this was a control group as far as uncontrolled control group, is that if these watermelons start out producing, once they get established and start out producing, because it takes a little bit for the microbes and stuff to increase in the ground, and with this heat it's really rough anyway. But if they outproduce and start growing a whole lot quicker than the ones that's in here that have a better situation, then I would say that it's due to electroculture. But like I say, this just one of those things. Don't over sell the fact of electroculture. There's a lot of them out there, and I see the way that they say, oh, this did this. There's too many factors, and without a good control, you could say whatever, whenever. That it is, some of it is, has enough proof there to think that it has something to do with the energy produced by atmospheric antennas or magnetic antennas. But don't oversell it. Let's be real about this. I'm going to be real about it. I'm going to keep bringing you information on it, and we'll keep getting a little deeper, and a little deeper. But if you want to see more, and I'm thank you for watching this through to the end. If you want to see more and you're not subscribed, well, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, and select all. And also, give it a big thumbs up and share it. That really helps the channel. And as always, enjoy that gardening experience. Get out there and get dirty.